Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone who is on this Zoom session. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh again to everyone. Thank you again for joining us on this session, our regular Friday night session, kicking off just after 8 o'clock. Alhamdulillah, we've got a healthy number of participants. There are about 35 and the numbers are still creeping up. We're also live streaming to Yasin Youth Tours, which is a local charity in Wembley. The brothers have just finished Isha there and will be joining us. So assalamu alaikum to everybody there. I'd like to introduce you to, actually before I do that, just a couple of housekeeping points. A number of you have been texting me and texting Khalid about the recordings for the sessions. They are now on there. We've got about 2 so far, but they will slowly be edited and added onto the YouTube channel that Khalid, behind all of this, has created, alhamdulillah. So look on the WhatsApp groups that we've created and you will see, in fact, somebody just put it up on the chat, you'll see a couple of the talks there. MashaAllah, Khaled's got great plans for this. We have got a Facebook group, I think he's setting up, or a page. I think he's also looking at Instagram. So just keep an eye out on the WhatsApp groups and everything will be posted on there. And as ever, if you've got any feedback, if you've got any recommendations, if you've got any requests, please send them through to us. Alhamdulillah, last week's session really resonated with quite a few of you, and there are a number of questions that are asked. Slight change in the program today. I know I mentioned that we were going to talk about a particular topic at the end of last week's session. That's changed, but that topic that I mentioned last week will be addressed, inshallah, in due course. So we haven't forgotten about it. But just to go back to what I was saying, so Dr. Salman Butt studied biochemistry at Imperial College in London, followed by a PhD in chemical biology, carrying out research into photosynthesis. During his years at the university, he became involved in Islamic society dawah and activism and general Muslim community projects. He is the chief editor and a regular contributor at Islam 21C, and also has a blog on the Huffington Post. And I'll introduce them, I'll open up the mic to him shortly. The sessions are recorded, so if you don't want your face on there, please turn off your cameras. Turn off your cameras anyway if you can, please. And make sure that your mics are muted to allow the Ustad to deliver his presentation. And of course, there will be question and answers at the end. Field them on the chat group, as you can see at the bottom, or send them to me or Khalid. I'll now stop talking, because apparently I talk too much, and I'll hand over, inshallah, to Ustad Salman Butt.
Jazakallah khairan. MashaAllah, that was the best introduction I heard all day.
I try.
Okay, everyone can hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Jazakumullah khairan, brothers, for the invitation, and it's very good to see you all here, your names at least. Like Ustad Sandar mentioned, my name is Salman Butt, and the talk today, I mean, I don't like, if you're anything like me, I can't really pay attention and stay awake for half an hour anymore. So I'm going to try and make this as story-like as possible, right? So I want you guys to come with me on a bit of a story, okay? Obviously, part of this story is, if it bears any resemblance to any real-life characters, then that's not intended, so don't sue me for any defamation or anything. But it's a fictional story, fictitious story, and a parable, you can say. Okay. Now, obviously, there's some lessons that we want to think about that are, true. But the idea we want to get across is that we want to be grateful for Islam. I want to be grateful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us, and we want to be grateful for this huge blessing, this ni'mah of Islam. Because sometimes, let's start off with a story, okay? This young brother, let's say he's 14 years old, he's at high school. His parents, they want to push him to excel in his iman, to excel in his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to utilize his potential. But he feels a bit, let's call him Yusuf. Yeah, Yusuf feels a bit odd sometimes. You know, he's the only person in his class maybe that says, can I have a prayer mile, or can I have some can I have a break at lunchtime to go and pray my dhuhr? People might look at him funny maybe. Why don't you just pray at home? Or that guy over there is a Muslim. He doesn't do what you're doing. Aren't you a bit odd? Aren't you asking a bit too much? Maybe his friends, or he sees people in society saying, drinking things that he's not allowed to drink, smoking things that he's not allowed to smoke, eating things maybe that he's not allowed to think. And he thinks, why are there so many restrictions? You know, why do I have so many restrictions and my friends don't? You know, maybe he sees on the news, he sees people on the TV talking about Islam. I mean, he loves Allah and His Messenger, but he's been blasted with maybe some propaganda, maybe negative news stories about Muslims, and thinking, why is it so hard? Why is Islam so odd and strange in today's day and age? He might feel the pressure to acquiesce, the pressure to fit in. And he might sometimes think, and you're not punished for your feelings. You have to be honest. If you feel a way, there's always, a way to deal with that and gain some knowledge and ask the right questions and sincerely and speak to people with knowledge to answer those questions. So he might start to develop some doubts. He might start to develop some ideas saying, why does Islam say X, Y, Z? Why is Islam so strict when it comes to men and women interacting, for example? Why can't I chill out with girls? Can't go out? Why can't I have a girlfriend, for example? You might think, why can't I smoke weed? A lot of other my friends doing it, What's wrong with that? It's just something that grows from the ground, right? So he might think, I wish that thing which is haram, I wish it was halal. Yeah. Or he might think, I wish that thing that's part of Islam that people talk bad about, that they make fun of, I wish that wasn't part of Islam. Now, obviously, that's not a good kind of mentality to have. But if you have that feeling, you have to know how to deal with it. And it requires us to reflect and learn certain things. Now, this is where it gets a bit more fictional, right? He has a scientist friend who makes a time machine for him. Yeah, he's just... he says to him, he speaks to him, he talks about his ideas, and this scientist friend, he's saying, you know what, let's take a journey on this time machine. Right? Let's take a journey on this time machine to 1940s USA. He says, okay, let's go. The thing with this time machine is you can only observe what's happening. You can't interact with people, but you can see what's going on. So they go to 1940s USA in their time machine, and they see Jim Crow laws in operation. Yeah, Jim Crow laws, you might know from your history lessons maybe. Black people are not allowed to ride the same seats in the bus as white people. They're not allowed to go to the same schools as white people. They're not allowed to drink in the same water fountain as white people. And he's saying, wow, this is terrible. But maybe he sees some Muslims there. And the Muslims are thinking, why are we doing this? Maybe we shouldn't do this. I mean, my religion says you shouldn't be discriminating against people because of the color of their skin. my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, and he happens to be the earliest person recorded in history to say this, that there is no superiority of a black person over a white person over a black person, an Arab over a non-Arab, and a non-Arab over an Arab, except in what is in here, your taqwa, your God consciousness, your piety. But then people look at them and say, these Muslims, why are you following someone who came 1,000 years ago? This is how we do things. You should join modernity. You should become modern. Times have changed. These Muslims should change. You Muslims are a bit odd. And then you see, you can't interact with these people. You see these young Muslims saying, yeah, you're kind of right. Why does Islam say that you can't? That black people are human beings, for example. Why does Islam say that? They're pressured from society around them because that is the normal. That is the norm that powerful people in society, then people making the films, making the books, making the music, making the culture. That's what the cultural producers are spreading, that this is normal. This is correct. This is right and wrong. This is what beauty and ugly is. This is what normal and abnormal is. And then some Muslims are saying, you know, maybe we should change certain things about our religion to fit in. Then the scientist takes Yusuf quickly to another place. Yeah, goes back further into history. He goes to 6th century Mesopotamia, in Western Asia. There's a Christian bishop writing his chronicles. True story, by the way, not the time machine part, but the chronicles part. His name is John. I forgot. It's in a very interesting book called How Islam Through. I forgot the name of the book. Anyway, this Christian bishop in the 6th century, in Mesopotamia, around where kind of Iraq and that area is, Western Iraq, he's saying, you know what, these Muslims, they're all right. Muslims took over that land from the Byzantine, from the Roman Empire. And, we used to pay our taxes to Caesar. Now we pay taxes to, the Muslims. They're all right. They don't really, mess about with you. They don't interfere with you. We can worship however we want. As long as you pay your taxes, you're all right. But my one criticism with the Muslims is they don't persecute the Jews, because that is the normal. That's what you're supposed to do, right? In 6th century Mesopotamia. But when the Muslims came in, they refused to do this. They're odd. Why don't they just change with the times? This is during the reign of, I think, Muawiyah or Banu Umayyah, the Umayyad dynasty, for sure. Wow, these Muslims are quite odd, aren't they? Fast forward to Nazi Germany, for example, where it's normal, it's industrialized. The removal of humanity from Jews. They're killed en masse in gas chambers, not by bloodthirsty monsters, but by normal looking civil servants just doing their job, going about their daily job. Civil servants. They're clocking off at 5 o'clock, going and having a pint in the pub or whatever, going out with their friends, come back tomorrow morning, and they kill more human beings. Why? Because in that time and place, it's normal to deny human status to Jews, for example, or gypsies or other people that were considered subhuman, non-human under Nazi Germany. Now you're looking at this in horror. Yusuf's looking at this in horror from his time machine, and he's looking at some Muslims here as well. Yeah, the Muslims are looking at each other saying, what does our religion say about this? Maybe you shouldn't kill these people. Maybe, did you know that all of these people, they're actually human beings? We're all the same. We are from the same forefather, Adam alayhi salam. They'll say, what are you backwards Muslim talking about? How dare you call us as having the same having the same common ancestor as these people? They're not people. These are like animals. So what if we kill animals? You kill animals for your halal meat. We just kill them to get rid of them. You Muslims are odd. You don't know the science that we've been doing about, showing how these people are not fully human. The Muslims might think, maybe you're right. Yeah, I wonder, why does Islam say that these people are humans? Society around me, the people making the films, the people writing the literature, the people making the culture around us, they're saying this is normal. Let's fast forward, going back and forward in time, right? Oxford University, 100 years ago, 101 years ago. Okay, so in 1919, okay, you're seeing a woman go to Oxford University. They say, you can come and watch, but you can't get a degree. You can't get it. We can't be giving degrees out to women, because in 1920 was the first time Oxford University gave a degree to a woman. Yeah, 100 years ago this year. Let's say 50 years, 100 years before that. They weren't even allowed anywhere near it. I would say, you shouldn't be, studying. That's not your role in life. You do not need knowledge. What are you talking about? This is just for us. And then maybe some Muslims are sitting there in class thinking, what do we think about them? Why shouldn't we let them in? Why shouldn't we let them learn as well? Say, you Muslims, what are you talking about? Say, well, in our religion, our tradition, Muslims, knowledge has been an obligation on everyone, men and women included. What are you talking about? That's not the place of a woman. I mean, Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife, she was one of the 6 most prolific narrators of hadith, for example. People used to come from far and wide to learn from her, to get her rulings on something. I mean, fast forward now, there's a scholar called Sheikh Akram Nadwi, Dr. Akram Nadwi in the UK. He's a hadith scholar. He did some research on the biographies of female hadith narrators. He thought I was going to find 40, 50 maybe. He found 8,000. Right, his kind of life's work is that compendium of their biographies. Anyway, so these Muslims in let's say 18th century Oxford University, they're thinking, maybe we should say something, Our deen, our religion says you should let women, learn and study. Incidentally, 1,000 years ago, I think in 10th century, Fatima al-Fihri founded what is kind of reckoned to be one of the earliest universities in human history, in I think North Africa. Yeah, she founded a university. So why are you guys not letting these women get an education? Well, you Muslims, why are you following this ancient tradition? We have knowledge, modern knowledge about the rightful place of men and women, and this is a man's job to learn. You Muslims, you need to stop, following someone from 1,000 years ago. You need to change and live with the modern times. Another example, so this Doc is taking young Yusuf on another journey. He takes it maybe a bit less serious now. He takes him to Hungary in 18th century Hungary, okay, where a person called, actually 19th century Hungary, if I remember correctly, a person called Ignaz Semmelweis, a doctor, he was credited as being the first person in Europe to discover that washing your hands is something good. Yeah, not making this up, 1847. Before that, imagine Muslims doing their wudu, people walking past chuckling at them. These silly Muslims, what are they doing? Wasting water like that. Water's for drinking, not for splashing on your face. And what's this superstition that you do this, for example, before you eat? Why are you doing this with water? That's silly. Well, these Muslims might think, well, it's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. He encouraged us to do this. Cleanliness is half of the deen, the Prophet ﷺ said. But they're saying, why are you following these superstitions from 1,000 years ago, you backwards Muslims? Times have changed. Get with the times, become modern. Before Ignis Samawise comes along, obviously. And imagine now Yusuf is looking at them saying, what the heck is going on? But that was the norm. That was what the people making the films, making writing the books, making the culture, producing the culture, that's what the message they were sending out. That, washing your hands is just some ancient superstitious thing that these weird backwards Muslims do. And imagine watching some Muslims there now saying, maybe we should change this part of our deen. Maybe we should get rid of these ancient practices. It's embarrassing. You're making me feel odd. This scientist has one more trip planned for Yusuf. He's saying, let's turn up the heat a bit. Let's go back 800 years. Right here in the UK. There's a little place called the town of London. Yeah. Then these Muslims are walking by and they notice that somebody's being tied to a heavy weight and thrown into the River Thames. Another person is being sat on a chair and set on fire. What's going on here? They were accused of committing crimes, and this is the trial. It's called trial by ordeal. It was officially ended, didn't really end during the time near the time of the signing of the Magna Carta, so 800 odd years ago, but it was very prevalent just before that, right? And the Muslims are asking, excuse me, why are you doing this? This is how we do things. This is how we try someone who's been accused of a crime. If they're innocent, God will save them. If they're guilty, God will let them perish and get harmed for their sin. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that. What are you talking about, you Muslims? This is how we do things. These are our values. Yeah, if you don't like it, we can go and live somewhere else. Muslims might fight back and say, wait a second, no, this is wrong. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, he laid down a principle that you should apply here. What's that principle? Al-bayyinatu ala al-mudda'i wal-yaminu ala man ankar. Ala man ankar. If you accuse someone of a crime, you have to prove that he did it. The burden of proof is on you. You have to prove somehow that they did the crime. You can't just punish them without due process, this process. They might think, why are you following someone from 800 years ago, 700 years ago? This is how we do things. You Muslims need to change and live with the modern times rather than following this odd old practice. Imagine the Muslims. Imagine Yusuf banging on the walls of the time machine. You can't interact with them, remember? He could tell them that, no, stick to your principles. In a few years, even these people will accept and come closer to Islam, come close to the Sharia. But he can't interact with them, remember? So maybe the Muslims walking by are thinking, yeah, maybe we should just blend in. Maybe we should fit in. Because that's trial by ordeal. That's something that was widespread, that was considered normal, that was considered just, that was considered appropriate by the people creating the films of the time, the cultural producers, the people in power, the general masses as a result. Each time they would say, oh, these Muslims are so backwards. They should change to live with modern times. Yusuf comes now back to 2020. He asked the doc to, fast forward a few years so he can skip the pandemic and stuff. But he said, no, that's not how this time travel thing works. This is where you belong. That was just opening a window to that era. What do you think he's thinking now? He saw racism, he saw sexism, he saw people denying human status to other people. He saw people doing things that we now recognize are very silly. But the people at the time were pressurizing the Muslims into thinking, no, your way is backwards. Maybe you should change your belief, Muslims. Jim Crow laws, Nazi Germany. The list goes on like this, on and on and on. And those Muslims who changed or got rid of some of their Islamic identity in order to fit in, how do you think they would feel now? Right? In other words, whenever somebody feels odd because of what's happening around them, it doesn't mean that they're the ones who should change. In the example of Nazi Germany, for example of Jim Crow laws, example of Oxford University, example of Ignaz Semmelweis, the person who discovered washing your hands is good, the example of habeas corpus, the rights of the accused in a due process and the rule of law. In all of those things, the Muslims were odd. The Muslims, you can take the Muslims from all of those periods, and they would generally have the same beliefs, the same general rules and principles that they govern their lives with, the same morality, right? What is right and wrong. They would have different clothes, different cultural some cultural norms, or have different kind of foods that they eat, but they still have the same general beliefs and principles, moral principles, right? But those periods, those people, the people that were calling those Muslims odd, they changed. They came closer to Islam on many, many, many things. And this is what we have to recognize. You see, whenever somebody feels, if a Muslim brother or sister feels odd, if they feel strange, if they feel that everyone else is saying something, but why can't I be like them? Then we need to realize, imagine if you were in the position of these people in this time machine story. The people that criticize Muslims and make them want to feel odd, they themselves don't have any firm foothold. It's a very interesting ayah in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن الناس من يجادل في الله بغير علم ولا هدى ولا كتاب منير. Some people, they argue concerning Allah. Okay? They argue concerning Allah without knowledge, without guidance, and without an illuminating book. I.e., what they're criticizing you about, they don't have any firm principles themselves that they're basing that on. So whenever there is a clash between what the Muslim who is following Islam believes and their practice and so forth, and the society around them, we've seen again and again and again historically, society around them either disappears, or if it's successful, it becomes closer and adopts the values of Islam. And this is what should happen. When we Muslims, when we feel pressured to fit in to society around us, it's actually the opposite. Society normally adapts and comes closer to Islam. And you, O Muslims, signed up to being the odd person in one time or another. That's why Muslims aren't sheep. You don't just follow the rest of the crowd, but you should be shepherds. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Allah said, you are the best nation raised for mankind. Not because of your race, not because of your skin color or the blood in your veins or your lineage. No, because ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhawna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. Because you enjoin what is good, you encourage what is good, you call against what is evil, and you have iman in Allah. Now, there are many, many practices now today, right, where Muslims might feel odd. Muslims might feel strange, different to the norm. Imagine how Yusuf feels now. Instead of yesterday, before his journey, he was thinking, man, I wish we could fit in. I wish Islam said X, Y, Z, so it'd be easier to go out with my friends or have a girlfriend or do this or do that. But now he's thinking, it might be difficult now, but these people need us to be firm and have integrity and encourage them to improve and come closer and closer and closer to Islam. Just like those people throwing people in the River Thames or setting fire to them or putting Jews in concentration camps and killing them or dehumanizing and killing black people as well, for example. Likewise, those people needed the Muslims to have a backbone and call those around them to come closer to right guidance. When it comes to mental health issues, for example, when it comes to societal breakdown, for example, when it comes to, just for example, someone might think, why are these Muslims so extreme when it comes to men and women interactions? Why can't I have a girlfriend? Why can't I have a boyfriend? Whatever. There are 200 odd rapes in England and Wales every day. Did you know this? Last time I was doing some research, there were 400,000 plus new cases of sexually transmitted infections every year, just in England alone. Right? 1 in 4 women report being sexually harassed at work, for example. The whole Me Too movement, we've seen that this is such a widespread pandemic of women being objectified, women being harassed, sexually harassed, for example. Muslims have guidance. That is now more and more people are coming close to that. Being very careful in your interactions with the opposite sex at work, for example. Don't have meetings alone. Don't be alone in the same room together, for example. When you see someone who you shouldn't be looking at, lower your gaze and speak to them with respect, for example. Don't make physical contact with the opposite sex, for example. Why are Muslims so strict when it comes to financial transactions or alcohol and drugs? What's wrong with a little bit of, a little drink now and then? But imagine if Muslims were firm and we taught people. Look, £50 billion is the direct cost of alcohol to the NHS every year. Yeah. 1 million, which is around 50% of violent crimes, are attributed to alcohol every year in the UK. Yeah. Imagine 50 billion, that's approximately half of the whole budget of the NHS for a year. Right? Muslims, you have the answer. You can either now blend in and just get rid of some of your Islamic kind of traits and principles just to fit in with society, or you can show some backbone. You can show some integrity and say, no, we're not sheep, we're shepherds. Maybe we have been placed here by Allah to help those people around us come closer to right guidance. Now, on a final note, I know I've been going on a final note, it's important that we recognize, of course, Islam is a mercy for everyone. Islam is a mercy and it improves the worldly life of everyone. But that's not the number one benefit that Islam brings to people. Even if none of these benefits of following Islam, following the Sharia were there, but there's just one benefit that Islam brings you, then that would have been worth it, even in the absence of everything else. And that is if Islam saves you from the hellfire. Imagine there was no benefit Islam brought, worldly benefit. but it saved people from the hellfire. Even then, it would have been so important and worth us holding on to it and spreading it to other people. But look, Allah, out of His mercy, He made Islam ease. He made Islam spread ease for everyone, spread justice for everyone, spread mercy for everyone. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he gave those people who might be considered odd, might be the strange ones, might be the odd ones out, he gave them a special encouragement when he said, Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayaudu ghariban kama bada. The hadith that was on the poster. Islam began as something strange, something odd. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, for example, he only had, in the time of the early days, he only had a handful of followers. Everyone else was worshipping idols, burying daughters alive, oppressing the orphans and the widows and so forth. But here, this small group of people saying, no, don't do this. They were strange, they were odd. Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayaudu ghariban kama bada. And it will become, and it will return to being odd and strange, just like it was when it started. So what's the encouragement? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Did he say, it's okay, just blend in? No. He said, Tuba lil ghuraba. Tuba lil ghuraba. He said, glad tidings, there is a special reward for the strangers. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst the good type of strangers, those who hold on to Islam, hold on to right guidance, even when it's difficult. And the end is always for those who follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Ustad. There are a number of questions that have popped up, which I'll go through shortly. I think Khalid has just wanted to pan across the Yasin youth tours where this talk is being streamed. So inshallah, he'll probably pop something up shortly. If not, I'll crack on and he'll probably do something in the meantime.
There he is.
Can you see him?
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. You can see the Yasin youth tours building there and all the attendees there, alhamdulillah, just after Isha.
That guy's not a youth.
So whilst Khalid's doing the tour there, let me ask you, there's a couple of questions that have come up.
Social distancing, mashallah.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions is, and this is in kind of quotes, but Mo doesn't pray and his parents let him go to the prom. Why can't I? It's not fair. Forget his non-Muslim friends. If his Muslim friends don't seem to be following the Islamic injunctions that his parents are teaching him to follow, that's a harder one to explain why it's not actually optional and why he has to, without going from a version of because Allah said so to because I said so. What are your suggestions, Ustad?
It's a hard one. I'm not going to pretend like I got the answers. I mean, this is a sons and dads and sons halaqah, and I've got 3 sons, mashallah, but they're still young. They're not even invited to this talk. It's a bit peak for them. But yeah, I sincerely don't have the answer. I mean, the brothers who have more experience, more age and wisdom, I would defer to them. If you've raised teenagers yourself, for example, I'm not looking forward to that, but I know I can understand and imagine that it's a challenge. All I can say is bring Mo, bring others to places like Yasin Youth Tours, places where they can get some more Islamic tarbiyah, because it's not enough just to save my own children. We're all in this together, right? We want to encourage and improve the tarbiyah, the nurturing and the cultivation of all our young brothers and sisters. Yeah. And maybe it could be that we need to let our young brothers and sisters make some mistakes, but we have to, look for expert advice. We have to, number one, first and foremost, just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance as well. Yeah. This is one of the many overlooked, often overlooked means for securing an end. Yeah, the dua of the father for the child, the Prophet ﷺ said, is not rejected. Yeah, the dua of the father for the child. So we need to be careful as well, not making bad duas for the kids. But it's hard. I'm not going to pretend it's like it's easy, but I think that's why I tried to give this historical perspective. Yeah. Imagine if Mo or whatever, he's encouraging you to do something that Mo even today recognizes is wrong, but it was normal in his culture, right? So one of the things I think we need to push and encourage is for us to learn just what impact culture, the wider culture, has on a person's ideas of what is right and wrong, what is correct and incorrect. You know, and part of that is surrounding ourselves with people that we want to, that have a common vision to us, coming closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ said, the man is upon the religion of his friend, of his close friend. Yeah, so be very careful how who you take as a friend. Yeah, and there's always good. There's always a level of sacrifice that we have to make. Sometimes there's many of us. Anyone who's become practicing, quote unquote, I don't like the word, but became more practicing over the years, they had to spend less time with certain friends and start spending more time with better friends that are going to remind them and have a good impact on them. So maybe this is, one of the answers. Changing the surroundings of our brothers and sisters, making it easier for them to follow right guidance and make it more difficult to fall into errors and fall into certain major sins. Yeah. Why not, for example, speak to the school or speak to the organizer of the prom and say, let's tweak these bits so that it can, or offer an alternative. Be creative, offer an alternative to do something that everyone can get involved in, that doesn't go against our principles, for example. Allahu a'lam.
Another question that you can see up here, and I think you touched upon it briefly. When I pray at school, I feel my friends think I'm a little strange. How should I deal with this?
Wow, that's a really good question. You should enjoy it, bro. Enjoy being strange. Who said being strange is something bad? In fact, the Prophet ﷺ said, glad tidings to the strangers. He said, Tuba lil ghuraba. Tuba, remember this. Tuba is the name of a tree, a special tree in paradise. That all of the clothes of the people of paradise is taken from its sheaths. Yeah. Tuba. So if you're in a position where you're doing something that you're supposed to do, and you feel strange, you shouldn't feel, that should make you feel happy. Remember what the Prophet ﷺ said, Tuba lil ghuraba.
In terms of, there's another question that's come to me. Social media is a big issue these days. And yeah, it's okay. I've got a question here. One person saying it's okay to be strange. But what about social media? There are all these trends, these trendsetters, these influencers, and it's odd if I don't follow these people or I don't talk about these people. It's not easy being a teenager. It's not easy being young with all these things happening around us. Any suggestions or any comments you can give about that?
There was one brother who I spoke to many years ago. He was, I think, running for the presidency of the NUS or something. He said, I've made it my thing, my persona on social media and always mentioning certain things. I mentioned chicken shop. Right now, whenever anyone wants to have a social or whatever, instead of going to the pub, when they invite me, they think automatically chicken shop. Right. And I thought, this person, mashallah, he's not a sheep. He's an example of someone who doesn't follow, but he sets the trends that other people follow. Yeah. It's hard. It requires integrity, but that's what you signed up for. Yeah. When you said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, It's not just to be some kind of sheep just grazing here and there and following what other people are saying. Set your own trends. Be part of those people who set good trends, set good examples. I'm not saying, you know, chicken shops are necessarily a good thing. It might be, you know, it's obviously bad for your health and stuff. But the idea is, instead of a pub, he's encouraging people to meet and socialize here. So try and reduce the evil sometimes. If there's some bad practices and bad things that are trending amongst your friends, encourage them steer them towards something better, yeah, or something less harmful, right? And subhanAllah, the more you do this, for every single minute that you do, that you spend doing this kind of stuff, inshallah, this will be counted as ibadah for you. This is worship for you. Yeah, this will be counted as worship for you, inshallah. So it's hard, but the reward is amazing for that. Yeah, imagine you're saving so many other people from going down a route which is harmful to them, and you're encouraging so many people to do something good, for example. So in short, don't follow harmful trends, but try to steer people towards better trends. And you're at an age now, you're unless you're addicted to social media, which is another whole other talk we need to talk about. You have creativity in your young minds, right? You can think of creative ways to change what is trending. You have that power. Yeah, don't just be a sheep, be a shepherd. The Prophet ﷺ said, every one of you is a shepherd and responsible for his flock.
Another question here touches upon status. The question is, does a father's job or income have an effect on his children's iman? So I guess you could also say, does a father's status in society, at home, have in general have an effect on a child's iman?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I guess if you, I've just put it out there. So if you've got an individual who's got a lowly status, so-called lowly status in society because of his job, because of what he does, mm-hmm. Does the impact of that status therefore move on to the kids, and the kids view life differently or view their religion differently, more so than they would do if the father had a lofty status in society or his job?
Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, what I would say, and the humble advice I would give is, don't think about status, but mentality. Someone might not have much material wealth, but their mentality is of a rich person. Yeah, of a contented person, of a person who is internally wealthy. And that will manifest in how they act. They won't be stingy, for example, in giving sadaqah. They will give sadaqah with an open hand. Yeah. Some people might have lots and lots of wealth. I mean, they might have technically lots of assets, but they have a very poor mindset of a poverty-stricken mindset, right? So I think it's the mindset that affects people, not necessarily how much status they have in the eyes of other people. The short answer is follow Islam, because Islam teaches you so many other different things about how to view society, how to view the dunya, how to view wealth. But I'm just remembering that the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. So it's an interesting book. I mean, maybe you can get someone, an entrepreneur style brother to deliver a talk somehow, somewhere at some time. But in a nutshell, this person, he had two influences in his life, his actual dad and his friend's dad. His actual dad probably had more money than what he calls a rich dad, but the rich dad was entrepreneurial. He was hardworking. He was doing lots of different projects and businesses and setting things up and so forth. So he might not have had that much money to start with, but he was a very active person. And his rich dad, he was a PhD educated. He was a employee of the university and stuff. But he said he had a poor mindset. He thought like a poor person, and poverty of mindset is what is inherited, and richness of mindset is what is inherited. And you can say something similar in our own tradition as well, right? So I remember an example of, I think it's Uthman ibn Affan anhu, or one of the righteous people in the early ages of Islam, the first few generations. he didn't leave his, someone remarked, one of the biographers has said, such and such person, he didn't leave his children with much wealth and inheritance. Whereas another person, an enemy of Islam, he left a huge inheritance. Yeah. And he said, I saw the first person's children later on in life donate 100 horses for the army. Yeah. He just donated 100 horses for the sake of Allah and charity. But the children of the rich person who died, but he was not following Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I found them begging in the streets. Yeah. So this is what's more important is our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Our mentality that we pass on to our children, rather than, I would say, our status in society. And obviously things do rub off and we get negative attitudes, and we have to fix those negative attitudes.
Last question. Which so-called odd practices should we be cognizant of in our times, and so especially cling to in today's society?
Good question. Which was, I think, staying away from riba, for example. Yeah, that's a huge one. I was going to mention this as an example. I mean, some people, they thought, look, why is Islamic rules about finance and transactions so strict? Firstly, they're not strict. Secondly, those things the very few things which are strict, right, they are very strict, like riba. For example, if I'm exchanging with you, I'm selling you, I'm exchanging, 1 ton of gold for 10 tons of silver. Islamically, we have to physically have these things present and exchange them at the same time. I can't say to you, give me the gold now and I'll write you a ticket and, you'll get the silver in 2 weeks or whatever. Right? Now, some people said, why are you so strict about this? Well, that's silly, isn't it? That's just being overly rigid. But now we're beginning to see the fruits of being strict in that regard. Right now, for example, a bank can take gold, not really gold anymore, but can take something you deposit with them and lend that same thing to 10 different people. This is the basis of fractional reserve banking. This is one of the things that has created this corrupt financial system today, which has seen the gap between the rich and the poor grow exponentially over the last 100 years or so, right? Which has seen some of the worst types of crimes happening, across the world. So being very serious when it comes to our financial transactions, right? Trying as much as possible to stay away from riba, right? Staying away from interest-based loans, for example, because we might not see the harm on a local level, but there is definitely a dhulm and harm on a macro level. And if enough of us hold fast to this principle and make a noise about it, it will create that impetus. It will create that incentive to improve certain practices. Obviously, we can't overthrow the whole system overnight, but we have to be, strict with our values when it comes to our economics, basically, when it comes to our buying and selling, when it comes to our the rulings. For example, a lot of the things that we buy today may be sourced sourced from dhulm, from oppression of other people. We have to be very strict about that, right? And if we stick to this principle in particular, it could have knock-on effects. And there's enough Muslims, not just here in this country, but all over the world, that if we actually were very strict and held on tight to these financial regulations and business practices of Islam, then it could make a huge impact, inshallah. Yeah.
Sheikh. Those are all the questions that we have. To everyone, before you go, Sheikh, thank you, Jazakallah khair again for joining us. And the next topic will be posted up on the WhatsApp groups Tuesday, Wednesday at the very latest. So keep an eye on that. Again, just to remind you about feedback. Thank you again for the youngsters who have joined us more than anything else. And I'll keep mentioning this. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really important to thank them for coming and spending their time with us, and inshallah gain some benefit from these talks. Ustad, can I ask you to close the session with a dua, please?
We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide our brothers and sisters, especially our younger brothers and sisters. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار واعف عنا واغفرنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
جزاك الله خير and السلام عليكم everyone.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.